Let me ask everyone here a question. Why do so many people sit through hours of training only to forget almost everything by the next week? We've all seen it. The employee that completed orientation yesterday, the athlete that learned to play on Monday, the martial arts student who just tested for a belt, and then 2 weeks later, it's like they've never seen it before. Here's the uncomfortable truth: the problem usually isn't the student, it's the training program. Today, we're going to talk about why most training programs fail, what science says actually works, and the systems that I've used for years to train employees and martial artists and coaches alike. Because if your training doesn't create performance, it isn't training, it's just entertainment.
Welcome to Coach's Corner. Where host, coach, and martial art instructor Travis Williams and special guests discuss philosophy, theory, and experience of being a coach.
Welcome back to Coach's Corner, where we dive into coaching philosophy, leadership, martial arts, business, and developing people. I'm Travis Williams. Whether you coach athletes, manage employees, teach martial arts, or simply want to become a better leader, then this episode is for you. So grab your coffee or tea, and I say grab a notebook. Let's step in the corner. Here's today's myth. If I explain it well enough, people will learn it. No. No, they won't. Now, don't get me wrong, communication matters. In my class at work where I teach new hires, I say, raise your hand if you've ever heard the saying, communication is key to all relationships. And almost everyone, every time, raises their hand. And I say, well, I don't really agree with that. And then now heads are looking at me, eyes are really looking at me. I say, I believe it's understanding. Because without understanding, communication is pointless. Then I ask them, have you ever felt talked at instead of talked with? I see heads nodding. I point to somebody and I say, when you feel talked at, are you willing to understand anything else that's being said? And they shake their head no. And I say, in every engagement, if I'm communicating with somebody, it's my job to communicate in a way that they're able and willing to understand. And if somebody's communicating to me, I should be willing and able to understand what they're communicating, especially in management or in a leadership position. If somebody's upset about something, they're going to bring their frustrations to you. It's our natural reaction to get defensive, but we have to remove that ego, be cognitive of it, and say to ourselves, this person that I care about is upset about something. They're bringing it to my attention because they need me to fix it. Now, don't listen to how they're saying it. Listen to what they're saying. Find out the root cause and then try to come up with a solution, solve it, or mediate it. We somehow convinced ourselves that information equals learning. It doesn't. Think about every boring safety meeting you've ever attended. 400 PowerPoint, presentation slides, which I try to avoid on these podcasts. There's tiny fonts. There's somebody that wasn't prepared and didn't read over the information, so they're just reading every bullet point, word for word. Meanwhile, half the room is mentally planning dinner. The other half is wondering what kind of fake medical emergency they can, pull off to get out. Then the presenter always seems to finish and ask, any questions? And then there's dead silence. Not because everybody understands, it's because they don't remember what they just heard. They haven't retained any of it. We've confused exposure with education. Here's where things get interesting. Psychologist K. Anders Ericsson spent years studying elite performers. And what he concluded was experts aren't created by doing something thousands of times. They're created by purposeful repetition with immediate feedback. It's called deliberate practice. There's another concept called retrieval practice. Instead of constantly giving employees or students the answers, make them retrieve the answer from memory. They struggle, and that struggle strengthens their learning. Think about it like lifting weights. If somebody curls a dumbbell for you, you're not working that muscle. You're not getting stronger. Your brain works the same way. And then there's active learning. Study after study has shown that people retain far more when they're actively involved instead of passively listening. Watching isn't enough. So watching this video isn't helping you unless you're taking notes and being engaged with it. Hearing isn't enough. Unless you're listening, thinking, writing it down, and then going out and doing it isn't enough. It's the doing that changes everything. That's why lectures alone rarely produce experts. Practice does. So my philosophy over the years is very simple. See it, hear it, do it, and then repeat it. I call it drills develop skills. In my combatives class, I call it drillers become killers. But anyway, it's simple, memorable, and it works. Whether I'm training employees, teaching martial arts, coaching wrestling, or helping supervisors become leaders, the process stays the same because people don't magically become confident. Confidence comes from successful repetitions. Let me give you an example. At work, every new employee starts in the classroom. Not because I love PowerPoints. Trust me, I'd rather watch paint dry. Instead, I try to make it interactive. We go over a presentation and we follow along. This is how you log into a scanner. This is where you put in your code. This is where you put in your password. This is how you scan into a printer. This is how you log into a session. Now let's do it. Pick up your scanners, go to the screen, hit this button. Now log out and do it again. And we do that over and over until they can do it from memory, and then we move on to the next slide. We talk about, the packing slips of receivers, how to verify the packing slips, the information on the packing slips. I give them handouts. So we explain it, we demonstrate it, and they practice it right there. They're asking questions. They're learning how to solve problems. They're physically going through the motions before they ever actually touch inventory. Why? Because mistakes in a classroom are free. Mistakes on the warehouse floor cost the business money. By the time they reach production floors, they've already seen it, heard it, done it. Now they're simply reinforcing what they've already learned. That's training. Now let's switch gears. Let's start looking at the martial arts. People think classes should constantly introduce brand new techniques. I disagree. I build curriculums and modules. Each module contains a specific group of techniques. Every class uses drills built around those same techniques. Different combinations, different scenarios, different partners, but it's the same building blocks. Students aren't memorizing random techniques, they're recognizing patterns. And by the end of the module, they've performed those movements hundreds of times. Then comes the testing. I don't just ask, show me technique number 12. Instead, I randomly select techniques from the entire module, and they have to recall them. They have to perform them. They have to apply them. And that's where confidence is built. Not because they memorize the answer, because they've lived it. And to give you like an example, let's say we start the class off doing a jab cross hook. They do that over and over and over again. And then I teach the next technique, which might be obtaining a high single leg. So then we end with the cross, move into a high single leg. Cross, high single leg. Then we tie it together. Jab, cross, hook, high single leg. Jab, cross, hook, high single leg. Then I'll teach the next, which is the takedown finish. So start high single leg, takedown finish. And now we tie that back together. Jab, cross, hook, high single leg, finish. We do that dozens of times. Now we start from the finish to a side position to a submission. And then we drill that, and then we tie it all together at the end of the class. This keeps the class safe, but we drill each piece until our brain starts hardwiring those pieces together, makes it feel like it is live sparring, and it starts joining those neurons in the brain a little bit. So by the end of the class, they've done it hundreds of times. Repetition, drills, skills. So here's today's coaching tip. If your students spend more time watching than doing, you're probably talking way too much. Design your classes so people are constantly engaged. Ask questions, create drills, rotate partners, solve problems, get people moving. Learning shouldn't be a spectator sport. So whether you're coaching football, teaching martial arts, managing a warehouse or employees, leading a church group, or raising your kids, ask yourself one simple question. Am I teaching information or am I designing learning? Because there is a difference. Average coaches explain. Great coaches develop. Average instructors lecture. Great instructors create experiences. People don't become better because they attend your class. They become better because of what they repeatedly practice after they left it. And that's why I will always believe, see it, hear it, do it. Because drills develop skills. Here's your challenge before next episode. Take one skill that you teach, just one. Now ask yourself, could I redesign this so my students spend twice as much time doing and half as much time listening? And try it this week. I think you'll be surprised by the results. If you enjoyed today's episode, hit that like, subscribe button, and share it with another coach, leader, or instructor who wants to build people, not just teach them. Until next time, I'm Travis Williams, and this has been Coach's Corner. Train hard, coach better. We'll see you in the corner.